Patricia, the government has confirmed the death of one Australian caught in the attacks in Israel.
Yeah, some really sad news that's been confirmed this morning, Karina. So the Australian government, in an official statement from the Foreign Affairs Minister Penny Wong, has confirmed that it's received confirmation of the tragic death of Galit Carbone, an Australian citizen murdered, she says, in this statement, in the attacks on Israel by the terrorist group Hamas. She says in her statement that on behalf of the government, she wishes to convey the deepest condolences to the family and loved ones of Ms Carbone, who is a Sydney grandmother. The Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade is providing consular assistance to her family. And of course, this is now, Karina, as I say, the first confirmation of an Australian citizen who has died in this horrendous terrorist attack. Here is the Home Affairs Minister, Claire O'Neill, confirming that death earlier this morning.
This is heartbreaking news this morning for the family of this particular individual, her community here in Australia, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of Jane when I just say our hearts absolutely go out to her. I'm devastated for the people who knew her, but also to the broader Jewish Australian community. What has happened here is a senseless act of violence that will beget only more violence, and the Australian government condemns it in the strongest possible terms.
So that's Claire O'Neill. Now, the Foreign Affairs Minister has said in her statement that Australia unequivocally condemns the attacks on Israel by Hamas. She says there is no excuse for the deliberate killing of innocent civilians and that this is unacceptable. Obviously, we know Australia has stood in solidarity with Israel. Now, there have been, as we've seen in the last couple of days, just to reflect on the fact that this is now a conflict that is playing out on the streets in Australia as well, and there have been some protests that have been controversial in relation to this, some pro-Palestinian protests and another one planned. The New South Wales Premier, Chris Minns, says he doesn't want the next one to go ahead, but there is obviously a lot more to play out here. There are very high emotions in relation to this, Karina, and a lot of people very, very concerned about some of the very disturbing chants that we saw at that last protest.
Today, you heard from the United Nations Special Rapporteur for the Palestinian territories. What did she have to say about the situation?
Yeah, so she is as you say, the UN Special Rapporteur, Francesca Albanese. Look, I've spoken to her before. She's the rapporteur that talks about the kinds of humanitarian needs of people in those occupied territories. I put to her whether this horrendous terrorist attack from Hamas has actually set back the cause of the Palestinian cause and a potential two-state solution. I think we've got the grab. It was an interesting response from her. Here she is.
Violence is never justified. There is in international law a right to resist an oppressive regime. This is unquestionable. It's recognized in international law, and it's recognized to the Palestinian people as a people deprived of its right to self-determination. But this has rules and limits, and targeting civilians under no circumstances can be justified.
So that's the Special Rapporteur, Francesca Albanese, a really strong statement from her about even though she has always argued that the Palestinians have the right to resist their occupation, that there is no justification for this. And so I think over the next few days, weeks and sadly potentially even months, we will be talking about this. And of course, the way that this is also playing out, as I say, on Australian streets and in the political sphere here in Australia. Karina.